Well, let's talk about, well, new trends in storytelling. So what you saw there is what happens behind the scenes. Okay, there's a storyboard, there's a planning before the film is shot, edited, and then brought to your cinema screens or your big screens in the home. So let's take you behind the scenes this morning. And we have joining us, that man you saw there holding the imaginary gun, right? Adekunle-Bryan, Oyetunde, visual storyteller, director, cinematographer, and so much more. Joins us on the Morning Brief. Good morning, Adekunle. Welcome to the Morning Brief.
Good morning, Kayode.
I think you're living the dream of a lot of people who, filmmaking,
really?
behind the scenes with the stars, ensuring that whatever comes on our screen is top-notch in terms of, the choreography and all of that. But I want to tie this conversation to what we've been talking about on the show this morning. Rivers politics, for example. In fact, people say you can do a whole series on what's happening in Rivers politically. The cholera situation as well. There's some material for movie making. So for you, as a storyteller, is Nigeria the best place to be right now as a storyteller?
As a storyteller, I think your stories come from your roots, in the sense that where you're planted, the possibilities are endless in terms of getting stories, in terms of creating stories, in terms of even listening and trying to imagine and create imaginations, create what people would love to see, and also show what is happening socially and how to create change, create solutions to problems using film, because that's how film started. They were trying to push a movement, and those films now created a culture for people. And also, your Nigeria is ripe. Like we've never touched base.
Ooh.
We've not touched base on the kind of stories that can come out from Nigeria. We've not touched base at all. We've done like just 1%.
I like that.
Just the stories are too much, and I feel like it's just finance that would. I mean, if you can bring out stories every single day, you can't even exhaust the amount of stories that are in Nigeria alone.
I love that, because we focused on crude oil, but I like also focus on the creative sector, as we always do. By the way, that was on the set of Hide and Seek.
Yes, Hide and Seek,
which is on Prime right now.
Yes.
But speak to us about generally your creative process. We saw you there, and I think you shot those scenes during midnight.
Yes, it was midnight.
So that movie was shot midnight.
Predominantly, it's 80% midnight, 80% nights, because the whole film happened in one day. That's the general sense of the story.
The story happened one day.
The plot of the story happened in one day. Yeah, so most of the scenes were at night. It started from afternoon and all through the night, then ended early in the morning. So most of the scenes were at night. So we sleep in the morning. When we were going to work, we sleep. Then we resume in the afternoon just to do some prep, some sequences, just so that everyone is aligned. So when it's time to film, we don't lose our night, because we need everywhere dark. And sometimes during the day, we also recreate, because we can always manipulate some of our scenes too.
So there's a question I've always wanted to ask. Thank God you're in the creative space. So it may be an outlier question.
All right, no problem.
I watch Nigerian movies. I love to see Nigerian films, especially in cinemas. I hardly go to see foreign movies in cinemas.
Yeah.
I use.
I'll put that together for Jeff.
Yeah, I have the streaming platform to see foreign movies, but when I go to cinemas, I try to support.
Yeah, that's true.
But the concern I always have, when I see an avalanche of too many good actors, there's a fear that we'll lose the plots. I'd like you to speak to that. Is my sentiment fair or wrong, or I'm overthinking?
Okay, have you seen Ocean's 11? The Ocean series. Isn't it an avalanche of actors? Like every year, even the Fast and Furious franchise.
Yeah,
it's like that. So sometimes people get it right, sometimes they get it wrong. It can also be overwhelming based on experience, because I recently directed one that just came out, and it has like 9 to 10 superstars, and sometimes it gets overwhelming, especially when they're in their space. When actors come together and they're talking and everything, they get caught up, and sometimes even as a director, if you're not mentally strengthened, you might at some point just like give way for some things to happen rather than even follow the script. So sometimes it can be that way, but most of the times, because there's a script, because there's a guideline, because there's some form of structure, you've done the whole prep with them, you've gone through the process of letting them understand that this is what should come out. So you're going through that process with them, not that you're carrying them along. No, you're going with them. So it's like this is a journey for all of us, and also that way, people will get a chance to bring out what the script, bring that story out the way it's supposed to be. But I totally understand that sometimes people get missed. Why? Because everyone's going to bring their own recipe, everybody bring their own ingredients, and then it just messes up the dish because sometimes some will overdo than what the script is saying. It happens. I feel it's because of people don't want to be the one to drop the bar. So then they tend to overdo. Just like when you just say, I'm cooking pati jollof, let me just, it has to be. You now do a mistake and pour more salt into it, then it messes it, and it becomes too salty, that kind of stuff. So sometimes that's what actually happens.
So the efficacy of the entire outcome depends totally on the director, to tone down the ingredients coming from the actor.
Yeah, so that's balanced.
And that brings me to the next question. You have a unique moniker, which is visual storyteller. And I've been thinking about it over and over again in my mind's eye. What's the difference between a visual storyteller and a director? A director is working towards the same goal, isn't he or her?
Yeah. So the reason I said we usually say visual storyteller is sometimes it's not just one form of art that I would love to do.
Okay.
At a very young age, I'd known that I was going to put pieces together to tell stories. So I'd always become myself a visual storyteller because it might not just be film. Because I used to scribble. I do a little of drawings, paintings, but no one has seen anything like that. I don't put it out there. Yeah, I know. So I feel like sometimes I tell stories even with pictures because I also do photography. But that, like I said, it's in the background. I just do that for myself. It's an hobby. But I know that sometimes there'll be a time I'll do some form of exhibition and all. Then all that will be shown. But I feel like just being a visual storyteller is just what stuck to me, that it's not just about directing films.
Yeah. When you said we've not even scratched the surface, that got me excited on the one hand. But then thinking about what we've seen happen with crude oil, for example, and you forgive me, I'm going to link this. So crude oil exploration and all of that happens here. But what we do is we export our crude, go refine it out there, and then import it again. So we were never really creating value. We were just taking and not creating value on ground. So you go to those areas, for example, oil producing areas, and you see just how they live in squalor, the environmental degradation. I fear that's what may be happening right now with our creative industry. Correct me if I am wrong. So we have people coming in from outside, coming to mine again, throwing out money and all of that, saying, get us story, because we're like exploration field for stories.
Very ripe.
So have we been able to build a system? Hope we're not refining outside and then importing, and we don't have a system such that if they leave, we say at least we have our refinery here. In that sense.
Hey, Kayode. Okay, so this is a very serious question. I would not deny it. And you mentioning it that way, I would say I'd not really seen it in that light. But from you mentioning it that way, it kind of seems it's kind of operating like that. But like I said, I cannot categorically say that that's true, that's wrong. Yeah, I played the Fifth Amendment. But I would say that the fact that we have all these organizations coming in, we make stories for them, then they're going to make more benefits from it. Because it's going to be on the platform and they can use it for donkey years. And they will continue ripping it. But you've sold it once outright, that kind of stuff. So in a way, if you put it that way, it kind of looks like that. It kind of looks like so now going back to Are we setting up things that would now make us?
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's the point now.
I think it's just capital and what's the word? Participation, government participation. I feel like if the government decides that, you know what, and it's not just by deciding, by just saying it, or just saying, okay, now we'll set up this, we'll set up that. It's by like saying, okay, so this is going to be functional. We have a 5-year project, and every day in that 5 years, every day, and it can't even be a 5-year project. It should be a part of the Constitution? No, okay. Well, I don't want to say that. Don't say that. Please get that guy. I'm trying to say that.
No, so you have in other climes, America, it's like an unwritten rule.
Yes.
You have to promote the American culture. You have to imbibe. You see flags almost.
So for instance, California is perhaps the 6th or 7th largest economy in the world. California. I'm not talking about the USA now. It's one
California
of the biggest.
itself, the city.
And two things are just 2 things are responsible: technology and Hollywood, Silicon Valley and Hollywood. So
yeah,
why not if not?
Which is why I'm saying that it has to be a part of the country. Like, it's the government's, like the government is saying, okay, this is a good mine. Let's make it as and project it, sell it to the world.
Absolutely, I agree. So there's nothing just so, I hope that the industry is engaging the government as much as possible. Do you have any idea? Because just like we mentioned California, there was a time California itself, the entire GDP of California was bigger than the entire GDP of the African continent put together. Wow. Yeah. It was that bad, yeah.
Well, we hope that the industry has the potential, to be viable and take up that chunk of the size of the economy. And if we're working towards that.
I feel that the industry has the capacity. We have the minds. We have great minds. Trust me. As in, there are a lot of people doing stuff, doing great things, right? And it's not even out in the public. Yeah, and I feel like if the governments decide that, okay, you know what, let's just focus on this. There are too many hands. There are too many
and
brains.
I think that's an important point to make.
There are too many brains.
We have the resources,
yes,
human
exactly.
resources. Let's back it up with government support and capital. 30 seconds, we have to close. If you had to cast us in roles, what kind of role would you cast Jeffrey, Bukola?
We have 10 seconds actually, not 30.
Let's try that. Let's do that quick.
Okay, so I would say someone who is going to do a surgery on someone but makes a mistake. I would say maybe leave a scissors in there.
Hypothetically.
Jeffrey,
then maybe she will be the one to save the day, but then you'll be the one to take the credit.
I was not in the movie.
We have to close the show right now.
I'm not in that movie.
I shall not work and somebody will chop.
We should make this happen.
I cannot make mistakes.
We should make something like this happen.
Yeah.
The morning brief short movie. You know what, Adekunle? We have to thank you so much. While we ruminate on this, and maybe fight behind this.
While I reject it.
Adekunle-Bryan, Oyetunde, visual storyteller. We have to thank you so much, and we wish you the very best. We know you have a lot of materials coming up.
Yes.
Wish you the very best, and of course, we're rooting
Thank you so
for
much. Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Okay, there you go. We have to anchor at this point. Sunrise Daily is next. We thank you so much for being a part of our show this morning. We're back tomorrow. I'm Oyetunde.
And the week is just getting started. Join us again tomorrow, and we'll bring you another bumper package. I am Bukola Koka.
Well, I'll see you at work tomorrow for those of you who have been on holidays. Thank you for watching. I'm Jeffrey Zongo.